software did you use to draw the diagram? Dominic, I use Visio. I've made all those stencils. I have wiring stencils for a couple different manufacturers and some of my boilers, and I've been using Visio now for about 20 years. Very easy program to use. Just have to have the stencils, and if you have it, if you get or have Visio and you want my stencils, as I sent them out last week to a couple guys, or 2 weeks ago when I mentioned it, or maybe it was 4 weeks ago. Doesn't matter. I'd be more than happy to send you my stencils. I'm not, what the heck? Why do you have to recreate them? Anyway, let's see. Put combustion analyzer in the supply and check the O2. Absolutely. Going back to lack of combustion, cross contamination. We talk about this all the time. Put your combustion analyzer on the intake and see if you're getting CO2 coming back, carbon monoxide coming back in. If you do, that's a big key. If you see it fluctuating, your CO2 fluctuating, your CO fluctuating, it's probably because you have cross contamination or a bad flapper in your Venturi. Good. And as Charles Mason, I love you. Charles Mason had a job that shut down because they ran out of propane because they hadn't put the permanent tanks in. They just had temporary tanks, and they weren't sure how much propane they were going to use in the weekend. Anyway, good. Excellent. So that's my tech tips for the night. So now I want to go through quickly. I'm not going to waste a lot of time on a lot of this because most of you guys I see out here are very familiar with the line. I'll talk about every piece briefly. It won't be a 90-second turnaround, but I want to get to one particular item, and I want to do it now because we're going to have training set for these new items coming up. I'm going to have some specific training for the new boiler that we just came out with, or that we're coming out with in 2 months, and then we're going to have a new product in the fall, probably the fourth quarter of this year, that we'll be setting up full training for. That will be, we'll do it here, of course, and but it will be a totally different, totally a new training. So anyway, let's rock and roll with this. There we go. So TRX 85 to 120, 110 combi, 150 combi. You see are smaller than the 150, 199, and the 199 combi. It's because the 4 smaller ones are made over in Italy on a robotic plants and made to fit in the same hole as a Navian. Whereas the 199 and the 150 heat only are larger because they have a larger heat exchanger in it, and they're made here in Canada. They're the same size. The larger TRXs are the same size and same cabinet as the FTVN is in. And if you're not sure the difference between the TRX and the FTVN, the TRX is a water tube and the FTVN is a fire tube. If you're not sure about the difference of that, we'll talk about it later. So anyway, it's available in 4 sizes heat only, 3 sizes as combi. You'll find that the combi TRX 150 is about the same. A combi is about the same price as a TRX 150 heat only. And it has a plate heat exchanger, more parts in it. You're going, why is that? And that's because the 150 has a smaller heat exchanger, and for heat will only give you 120,000 BTU. But on the 150 heat only, it will give you 150,000 BTU input for heat or domestic. So it does have a bigger heat exchanger in it. That's why they cost about the same. Take that one off the charts. So the TRX, of course, combi, non-combi model, simple service, easy to get into. I can field strip any of these and clean them in under 45 minutes. I can teach you how to do it. If you're local, you can come here and have a beer off of my tap system while we show you how to clean them. Or if I come to an area near you, that would be great. And my good friends at Wales Derby are going live on the road to show you how to do this with live fire boilers, so that you too can do it in the field, and they're going to be coming to a city near you. So go to www.walesderby.com, go to their training section, look for a date, and sign up. There we go. Advanced integrated control, like all of them, easy connection terminal strip, propane conversion kit, like all of my boilers comes with it. I only have 3 boilers right now that you cannot convert to propane, and that's the LX6, 7, and 800. We'll talk about the LXs in a little bit. Anyway, auto air vent, of course, universal vent connections for PVC or CPVC or polypropylene. The 4 smaller ones are 2-inch. The 3 larger ones are 3-inch, like all the FTVNs. So central heat and domestic hot water outputs. Yes, there's only 1 central heat output pump and 1 domestic hot water pump. And I say this because this boiler has 2 TTs on it, just like the FTVN that has a TT1 and a TT2. That's so you can tell 2 different temperatures, but it only has 1 heat output. One circulator output. These boilers, the TRX and the FTVN, you cannot use a power stealing thermostat on. You need a relay. So if you have a multiple zone system and you need to have 2 pumps, that means, and you need to have 24 volt for the circulators, that means you're going to put in a relay anyway. So get yourself an SR503, drop it in there and hook up to it. Good. The SR503, for those of you who aren't sure, I say these things off the cuff. That's a TACO circulator relay, as opposed to the ZVC 403, which be the zone valve control. ZVC, zone valve control. Good. Anyway, of course, has an exhaust test port for you to do your combustion analysis on. It's ANSI approved and certified, indoor combustion air approved, though I would never use it. You can do 2-inch up to 199 on your venting. It's very short. I think it's 45 or 50 feet on that on the 199. And personally, you can. And the only time I would use it if I was trying to core bore through very laid granite stone going through a 36-inch wall. But you increase your chances of poor combustion going 2-inch in a minute on a 199. Anyway, cascade up to 8 boilers like all of our boilers. Good. So there's your exhaust venting. I love this, by the way. Minimum 0 and 6 feet here. If you're using an indoor air, you're going to use 2 street 90s on the intake and give it 10 feet of feel. And exhaust, of course, 1 elbow and 1 foot of pipe. You already got it, man. You already got the 6-inch, so we're not worried about the minimum. So 100 foot max on 2-inch and 150 foot on the 3-inch. Please note, I will tell you to always use primary, secondary, as shown on the left-hand side here. On page 33 of the TRX manual for the small ones, it will show you this diagram. Please don't do it. Put the 2 T's here and put a circulator out in the system for your circulators, for your zone valves, or use circulators singularly on each zone. So put the circulator here where it says no pump required. Put that crossover here and forget the rest. You can do a single zone coming off this boiler if you have less than 100 feet of tubing and less than 60 feet of baseboard. You can do this on a single zone system. But if you're going to use multiple zones, you're going primary, secondary. All right? So TRX and the larger ones, you can see I don't have a circulator on the indirect because we're using the internal circulator to pump the indirect. They work great. FTVN comes in all the same sizes. Combi, 3 combis, 4 heat onlys, all the same sizes, same size cabinet as the larger ones, all the same stuff that you had on the TRX is built in. One of the things we don't tell you in any of these, which really surprises me that when we wrote this, that we missed it, all these are Wi-Fi capable to be hooked up to the homeowner's Wi-Fi, and you get a free dashboard that you can watch at home and get email alerts. And you can do anything from home that you can do in front of the boiler, except for reset a hard lockout on flame. So beautiful boiler, same venting adapters, same piping diagrams, all that stuff. And here's what I wanted to get to. Hopefully you like the FTVN and you like the fire tube. I like water tubes. I like the way they resist crappy water better than a fire tube. I like the lack of maintenance that you have to do on a fire tube. In my son's house, which was all cast iron radiators and all cast iron baseboard and all steel pipe except for about 40 feet of copper inside the actual boiler room, I remediated the water meeting. I put Fernox number 3 through it and cleaned the system up and flushed it. And then after I put the new boiler in and filled it, I put Fernox number 1 in it. And I put a low loss header with a magnetic separator built in, a SEP4, I think they call that. And so I remediated the water, and now 7 years later, that water is still perfectly clean and still tests neutral on the pH. If you're going to do that, fire tubes are a phenomenal thing. If you're not going to do that, consider doing water tubes and cleaning the combustion chamber every year on propane, every 2 years on natural. But the Compass series has everything in it that an FTVN has in it and more. Comes in the same sizes as the FTVN. In fact, for the longest time, I called this the FTVN floor mount, as I show on the top. That's what we called it. I now have to learn to call it the Compass. Quick change left or right hand for your supply and return. Left or right hand gas connections. built-in low-loss header, floor-mounted with leveling legs. And here's what the front of it looks like. I'll talk about that control in 1 second, but that's what it looks like from the side, how it comes shipped in the box. Trust me, we asked all you whether you wanted the supplies and returns at the back, at the side, at the right, at the left, at the top. Some of you said at the top, and we tried to do that. We worked really hard to take the supplies and returns at the top, but it would have been a servicing nightmare. Trust me, I tried putting it in. I tried doing it. Oh my God, I never wanted to see it again. I immediately, after going through the only locations where it could possibly fit supplies, returns, hot and cold water, all that shit, by the time I got done, I said, no, got to go out the side. And so did everybody else. I was not alone with this. Now let's rotate this thing around a little bit. Oh, let's first flip the door down. So that's how open it is inside. You'll notice that the high voltage box, which is right here, the high voltage box, is a little bit more beefed up than what you're used to on an FTVN. You see on the control, we've given you a bigger bracket and allowed you access to the gas valve. But if you need to replace that gas valve, you're going to take 4 screws off and just lay that to the side. Just swing it over and put 1 screw on it to hold it in place so it just sits there and you can do anything you want inside. Let's rotate it around a little more. That's what it looks like kind of at the back. There's your knockouts on the side that you unscrew and you put them on the other side if you switch your supplies and returns and hots and colds and your gas line. And that's what it looks like in the back. This thing has everything built into it that you've always wanted. It's got the low loss header. It's got the changeable supplies and returns. It can pump your indirect if it's a heat only unit. It can give you up to 5 gallon a minute on 199 on domestic for a plate heat exchanger. Your gas can be on either side. We did everything we possibly could think of and then more. So I want you to ogle at that control for a minute. If you guys are looking at my screen, you'll see that back here. Oh, pardon me. Let me do this the other way. I hate being on screen. I could never be I don't think I could be a weather person because I'm always pointing the wrong direction. Anyway, this control and that control do almost the same thing. They call it a HMI, a human machine interface. I call it a display. This display is so cool that if you go over here to menu and you touch menu, it comes up with a screen that has a whole bunch of writing across lines of writing, and you just dial this dial to get to what you want. Like the top line says, quick startup wizard. And you highlight that and you hit the enter button and you answer the questions by dial and hit and dial and hit and dial and hit and dial and hit. When you're all done, you escape. 8 questions later and the boiler's running. Speaking of Wi-Fi and setup and part of the setup, did you guys know about the NTI Net app? That's NTI Net app. If you get that, you can stand in front of your boiler, make it go to access point for your Wi-Fi, start your app up. It'll automatically sense the boiler. It'll bring it up. You have to tell it what the gateway is or what the people's router is. Select the router, click on it, enter the password, and your boiler's on Wi-Fi. I let somebody do that without any instructions the other day. They told me they had it done in under a minute. That's slick. That's the NTI Net app. Also the same as your password for your TFTN. Okay, cool. Anyway, so that's the new control. This boiler is coming out in June. It should be available to us in June. And this interface, this HMI, is going to be coming out in the fall for the next heating season on the TRXs and the FTVNs. And when we change the TRX and the FTVNs, you'll know them because we're going to call them Series 2. Series 2. So anyway, as opposed to the ones we have today with the 8-button controller that are Series 1. Come on, you got to admit that's pretty slick. Oh, you'll also notice that we have the universal adapters up here for your vent that has 2 gaskets for PVC, CPVC, and polypropylene. So Charles, the Mason, the sizes are all the same sizes as the FTVN. That's 4 sizes in heat only, 3 sizes in combi. I'm not Lochinvar. I'm not just going to give you an offer of 3 different combis. I'm going to give you 4 heat onlys and 3 combis, so the same sizes as the FTVN. All right, cool. Sorry, just saw a squirrel and a question. LX, LXWH. On this, here's the LX, right? The LX boiler comes in sizes 150 through 800. Like all of my boilers, linkable up to 8. All of them are convertible to propane except for the 6, 7, and 800, which are not convertible, nor are they available in propane. That's why it just can't. Anything over 300,000 BTU falls into the realm of not having an AFUE. It falls into steady state efficiency, and we could rate these easily at 96 and still be within 5% by code. So it's the same as everybody else's. These are great water tube boiler, floor mounted, easy to access, easy to work on, easy to go with. So of course, color touchscreen, it's the solar control that we developed with Honeywell. External limit connections, advanced integrated control, of course, easy connection, terminal strip, blah, 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 auto event. All the same stuff is what we're built in. And you can get an indoor air combustion kit for the 500 through 800. Please note that this boiler, though it has 24 volts, so it can take a power steering thermostat or run zone valves, this boiler has to have its intake and exhaust in the same pressure zone because we're still using a pressure switch to prove fan on this. All of my other boilers, you can use totally unbalanced fluid, meaning you can have your intake and your exhaust, your intake and exhaust, your intake and exhaust, your intake and exhaust. It doesn't matter. You can have them anywhere you want. On this boiler, they both must exit the same wall, and their linear run footage must be plus or minus 10% of each other. So that's one setback to the LX, but I've been using this boiler now for 24 years, and they've been phenomenal. Anyway, that's the venting lengths up to 150 feet, as we say. It all depends on what you have and where you're at. LX Cascade, put 2 of them together. It's very easy to do. Put them up to the system. Everybody's happy and ready to rock and roll. Again, linkable up to 8. The touchscreen does talk 100% English, so it's easy to get through. The LX Cascade, and here's more of it going on. So fun stuff. Now that's available as a water heater also. It's available as a water heater also. And it's available in water heating from 200 through 800,000 BTU. It'll make up to 995 gallons with an 800 on a 70-degree rise. Doesn't show it here, but it should. And I apologize for missing that. It might be off the screen. Better look at that. Anyway, of course, all the same things the LX has on it because it is an LX, just comes with 125-pound relief valve and 150-pound gauge. So it does come with that. The venting is the same as the LX, so you don't have to worry about that. So if you want to use multiple boilers or multiple water heaters to produce enough hot water for your apartment complex or your laundromat or your spa or your mikvah, you may need multiple boilers or multiple water heaters to be able to supply the tank, but you also might need multiple tanks. So there you are with multiple tanks. So that again, Dominic, was done in Visio. So Visio is now a Microsoft product, by the way, and I don't make any money by saying that. TFTN. The TFTN is my newest favorite boiler. This touchscreen, though, and I love it, and it's not because I was part of the design crew, which I was, but I love the touchscreen. It's available in wall hung from 85 through 399. Has a 3-zone controller built in. The color touchscreen, you can touch it anywhere and make it happen, make it do what you want. Has the easy startup wizard built in. External limit connections, of course it does. Has a built-in low water cutoff. Has advanced integrated control. Easy to connect terminal strips. Propane conversion kits come with them. Auto air vent. Blah 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 blah. PVC, polypropylene, or CPVC vented, depending on what you're using and where you're using it. Please note, we say no adapters required. If you're using 2-inch or 3-inch, that would be 285 and down. If you're getting a TFTN 345 or 399, they are 4-inch. These adapters are for polypro. If you're using the 2 manufacturers I've seen out there are Echo, I think they call it Quick Like a Bunny or something like that, and Centrotherm, who I love, and you guys know I have a relationship with Centrotherm. If you're using either one of those two, if you're using 4-inch, which you should be on the 340 and 399, you do need to buy an appliance adapter. Okay, good. 3-zone output, it can be either circulators or zone valves. You can get an expansion panel to go to 3 more zones. If you're doing multiple boilers, you can use 3 zones or a total of 6 zones off of 2 of the boilers. So you can do 3 on one, 3 on the other. It'll pick all 6 up. Has a boiler, domestic hot water, central heat, domestic hot water recirculation pumps built in on the relays. Exhaust vent test port, of course, ANSI and ASME certified. Built-in low water cutoff, as I already said. Built-in condensate trap, and top and bottom water connections. But we did get rid of, I know the TFT had a top and a bottom gas connection. Because of what we have going on inside, I could only give you bottom on this. It was either give you a bottom connection, a top connection on the gas, and lose the receptacle on the side, the 120 volt receptacle, or keep the receptacle and lose one or the other. So I voted to lose one of the connections on the gas, which we did, and we came out the bottom. Anyway, cascade up to 8 boilers, of course. Now, this boiler, and I know I've shown it to you before, this baby was hot at ASHRAE at the AHR show in Chicago. My TFTN 500, 600, 725, and 850. I was just on a 500 yesterday at a nice little monastery. Thank you, ARS. I love you guys. 10-to-1 turn down ratio on these bad puppies. You roll them right in, put your skid load, right, go underneath. I should go back here and say, please keep in mind that they range from 570 pounds to 700 pounds, right? Okay, good. So make sure you have a pallet jack or something to carry it in. This thing is isolated pump contacts for larger circulators. On the TFT 399 and down, you have a 7-amp maximum on your circulators, but the circulators, we give you a neutral and a hot leg, so we're sending the electric to you through the boiler. On this boiler, because we expect you to use larger circulators, that would be infringing on that reduction, that 7-amp maximum. They're just isolated relays. So you just connect your hot and bring the hot back to the circulator and trip the hot because it is an isolated contact. Good. If you're not sure about what an isolated contact is, please, Scott, reach out to me at another time. So, and I'm glad Richie Zemansky made it because he said there was a lot of traffic. Well, there always is in your area, Rich. I mean, that's why I don't live there. Anyway, high and low gas pressure switches. Please put regulators in that regulate. Most of these jobs go in pressure in places where you have high pressure gas coming in so they can reduce the size of the line. So instead of having 4-inch gas mains, they can run 1.5 inches at 22 PSI and then reduce it. Know what your gas pressure is coming in and get the correct reducer. And if it's a commercial application in Pennsylvania, you have to vent that vent on the side of that outside in rigid steel pipe. Not copper, not plastic, not vinyl, in solid steel pipe. So you're gonna buy a shitload of 1/4-inch pipe, which I know most of you guys have never worked with. But anyway, high and low gas pressure switches, built-in air cleaner. Yep, they have a nice little K&N filter on them. Built-in low water cutoff with manual reset, floor mounted with 11 feet. CSD1 compliant. This is CSD1 compliant out of the box. There's nothing to add to this. There's no manual reset high limit. There's no manual reset low water cutoff. It's all built into this unit already. So there's your sizes. I love this. And my question the other day, somebody called me the other day and said, and I don't think he's on tonight. I didn't look. I haven't scrolled through my screen lately. But the question was, who the hell vents 0 to 6 feet that you could actually put on a 340 and 399? Let's see where it was. 0 to 6 feet, air intake non-applicable. Exhaust vent size 2-inch on a TFTN if you have 0 to 6 feet. And I'm like, nobody. He's like, well, then why do you have it listed? I don't know. So I called engineering. I said, so how do you get 6 feet of venting on your air intake? What, are you in a shed and you just went straight up through the roof and the roof was only 5 feet up, so you go 2 feet and you're out? Well, they said, well, kind of. I said, so what do we list it? He says, I don't know. So you don't have to worry about the 0 to 6 feet. One elbow is 5 feet. A 45 is 3 feet. And you're going to have more than that going on there. So even if you use a low profile vent, you're going to have more. So anyway, so on the TFT 500, 600, you can get away with 4-inch, and on the 725 and 850, it's 6-inch. Please be prepared for that. And the adapters for your venting are listed in the installation and operation manual, or what I like to say, RTFM first. Good. All right. There's your wiring panels. Squint real hard, but that's also your piping schematic, which is really nice. I love these things. So, and then of course, that's moving things. So you might say, well, what was the difference? So here we have the circulator for the domestic indirect water heater coming off the supply and return, and here we have it floor mounted, still supply and return. So that would be your larger TFT, you know, the floor mounted. That's labeled totally incorrectly. Good. So there's your 500 to 600 floor mounted coming off the way it's supposed to be. And now let's look at the FTG. FTG is available in 800 through 2.4 million B2 floor mounted. A floor mounted, these boilers will roll through a standard man door that's only 33.5 inches wide, so it has to be an up to code man door. Please note though that FTG 2.4 million B2 or 2400 is 2,140 pounds. Cool. So you will need a pallet jack to roll it easily through the door. So these have all the same things that the FTVN have in it, with the manual reset, low water cutoff manual reset, high limit. They are CSD1 compliant out of the box. They are field convertible to propane, just like the TFTN. These are 160 PSI also. Your vent sizes, of course, I don't know why we separate natural and LP gas, but if you look at LP gas, it's 50 feet shorter than running for natural gas. So on the 600, 800, you got 6-inch at 150 foot on natural gas, and on propane, it's only 100 feet. But on the 1200, 2400, of course, it's 8-inch, and you can go up to 150 feet equivalent on that. And that's each way, intake and exhaust. So that's the FTG and how to pipe it in. Basically the same way we were piping in the others, it's just showing it on a floor mount. And there we are using an indirect water heater. So cool. The GF150, that's the TRX 150 on the front, and 4-row duct coil in the back. That 4-row duct coil is right here. We have the TRX combi down below. We have your hot and cold, your domestic cold in and domestic hot water out here. We also give you 2 connections to go to your additional zones. So you can put up to 30,000 BTU of heat off of this. So up to 1200 CFM, or what you and I would call 3 tons, venting on 2-inch and 3-inch, just like a TRX. 200 pounds, 225, and in the crate, it's with the crate weight, it's about 260 pounds with the crate. Because we use a Dexstar motor, you can use right, left, bottom, or back return, doesn't matter. So front or side blower access, left or right hand domestic hot water connections, right or left gas connections. Hydronic connections are only on the left side for your additional zones. Build an expansion tank, and I'm advised to advise you guys that you should leave access to one side or the other so you can get the expansion tank out. So if it ever fails, built-in water fill valve, fully modulating forced air heat, of course, ECM blower, left, right hand door connection. Size for B-size coil, as long as you use a 2-inch extension on the back to take you up to the B-size coil, or out to the B-size coil. We will be coming out with that as an accessory in the near future. Built-in hydronic circulator. Of course, 5-wire, 24-volt thermostats capable, which we did not have on the TRX. That is built into the additional control that we had to build into this so we can handle it. So, and that's what it looks like coming off to your coming off to your heating zones. Of course, you have to use a low loss header, but all things are good. Though, please note, you'll see when I'm doing this, you see I put a separate expansion tank on here on the heating system. And I have to, because this tank that's built in is only sized for the coil and the amount of water that's in the coil in the air handler and the amount of water that's in the coil in the heat exchanger. So that's all that expansion tank is good for. So when you go to put additional zones on there, you do have to put another expansion tank and another air scoop. Good. And another fill valve. Okie dokie. Indirect and storage tanks, of course, there's my S40 through S120. Phenomenal units, also available in a V series. Biggest difference between a V series and an S series is the V series has a steel outer shell, where these have a vinyl outer shell. And the V series S20 is 4 inches taller and 2 inches skinnier than the S20W. The S20W is shorter and fatter. So all are available. The V series has been more available, but once the next 8 weeks happens, they will all be in stock readily. So ST120 and ST80. ST stands for storage. There's just storage tanks, of course, my S20W that I hope you've used because these things kick ass. So if you haven't used an S20W, and I know quite a few of you looking at the names that are out here have, it's a phenomenal unit. Anyway, boiler accessories, plus kit, put a FTVN on the wall and the S20W, or one of the two large heat only 150 and 199 TRXs. You can have these on the wall in under 45 minutes. It comes with a low loss header for the heating system, and comes with a 3-way thermostatic valve for your domestic. Cool. We have a low loss header now for the 3 larger TRXs and all the FTVNs. We also have a low loss header for the smaller ones. Yes, did you know that the TRX 85 through 150 combi have a low loss header available for them? And there it is. That's your low loss header for the smaller ones. In stock, over 100 of them sitting there. I think last time I counted, I think there was 199 or so of these sitting there. I don't think anybody knows we have them. So that's available. Of course, the less expensive galvanized floor stands are available. These have list price under $300. 2 different models available. One for the smaller ones and one for the big TFTs. So if you're doing everything except for the TFT 343.99 on these brackets, you only need the small one, and they're UPSable, and they're only 40 pounds. So of course we have the 2-inch tubular steel ones. These come in a bunch of different sizes, beyond your wildest imagination. So of course you can always get that. We have a 0 to 10, 4 to 20 board that goes into all the TRXs and the FTVNs. You don't need it for the TFTN because it's already built in on the TFTN, but on the FTVN and the TRX, you need to buy that if you want to have 0 to 10. We have a gateway for lawn or backnet available for the TFTNs, and also available for the FTVNs and the LXs. We have a N-Link expansion panel for the TFTNs. That's the panel that takes you 3 more zones. These panels are expensive because they're made to use our proprietary thermostats. Proprietary thermostats that actually you can build priority to tell the boiler how much it should think about giving that some more thought, give it a little bit more juice. You can set up priorities on it using our thermostats, and your customer can see them on their app, and he can adjust their temperature anytime he wants to. So new cleaning coil cleaning tool on the left. It is metal. It's made out of the same stainless steel that the heat exchangers are made out of. These are now available and they are in stock. And the cleaning brush kit, second to none. It will speed up your time for cleaning a water tube boiler to under 45 minutes. Cleaning gasket kits, of course, we usually have them available. I know we've had some shortages. I know we're waiting for a couple more pieces, and I'm on the phone with parts every day about it. And of course, they come with the igniter, the flame sensor, the door insulation, the burner gasket, and the blower gasket, so you can take it apart and put it back together again with ease. That's just a picture of the igniter and flame sensor. That would be an LX boiler. That's what that's made for.
Thanks for watching the video today. If you'd like to check out more videos, see the link below. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our channel for all the future updates. And also check us out on Facebook, LinkedIn, and Instagram.